that when you get your retirement age, you must go. We must be careful taking into consideration the institution in question. Technically speaking, the civil service and the public service, we are all supposed to be neutral, impartial, lawyer, anonymous, and all that. Because at the end of the day, whether the policy succeeds or not, is the minister that takes full responsibility. Okay, and I think those of us in the public service and the civil service, we ought to be mindful and actually know some of this code that is guiding our work, so that we can have sanity in the space within which we are working on. Otherwise, it will not help us.
The unemployment situation in this country is very dire, and maybe the youth are yearning for a job, and they think that if you have reached your retirement age, why do you still be in office? But like I said, yes, if you be a penny womb, if you're a penny name, if you papa, I think that it should have been a process. There should have been a transition period or consultation or discussion before maybe that decision would have been made. But once that's made, let's see how it goes. For me, I always say that the development of this country is the hallmark for every Ghanaian. So whatever policies that may come, that will help improve, develop the country, I'm for it. But any policy that comes and try to bring the development of this country down, I don't think you go for it. So let's see how it works for Ghana.
Some leading voices in the country's labor space. The first was Musa Tanko. He is with NAGRAT. And then Isaac Bampoado is the Executive Secretary of CLOCSAG. Organized labor, they are urging President John Dramani Mahama to exercise caution in implementing this directive to suspend post-retirement contract extensions for public sector workers. Well, the appeal follows the government's recent announcement halting the granting of such contract extensions across the public service. Organized labor is concerned. They say that the move could lead to a loss of valuable experience within the public sector workforce. Well, that is what organized labor is also saying. There are those who are also with the argument that they need to go. Well, for co-founder of the Ghana Center for Democratic Development, Professor Bafo Ajimendua, he has praised President John Dramani Mahama for this directive, suspending all post-retirement contract extensions for public service staff across the country. You know, the directive was issued on April 2, 2025. It was signed by the Secretary to the President, Dr. Callistus Mahama. And it stated that all current and future requests for contract extensions involving retired personnel will no longer be considered. Let me read to you exactly what the statement signed by Dr. Callistus Mahama, who is the Secretary to the President, said. It said the grant of post-retirement contract appointment to retired public service staff has been suspended with immediate effect. Consequently, all requests for such appointments will no longer be considered. Kindly take note of this directive and ensure strict compliance. Signed by Callistus Mahama, PhD, Secretary to the President. This is our first conversation for the morning. But let's talk to you about what the Constitution says in Article 199, how retiring and pensions has been over the years. So Article 199 of the Constitution, it says that a public officer shall, except otherwise provided in this Constitution, retire from the public service on attaining the age of 60 years. So it is pegged at the age of 60. Now, 2 says a public officer may accept otherwise provided in this constitution retire from public service at any time after attaining the age of 45. So this is talking about voluntary retirement, if you like. That option is also available. You can retire from public service at any time after attaining the age of 45 years voluntarily. However, you are expected to leave when you attain the age of 60. That is what the Constitution knows as the retiring age. And we're talking about pensions as well. The pension payable to any person shall be exempt from tax. This is all in Article 199 of the Constitution. It's talking about retiring age and pensions. It continues to say that notwithstanding clause 1 of this article, a public officer who has retired from public service after attaining the age of 60 years may, where the exigencies of the service require, be engaged for a limited period of not more than 2 years at a time, but not exceeding 5 years in all, and upon such other terms and conditions as the appointing authority shall determine. So there's the first 2 years. That is the first limited period of not more than 2 years at a time. So after the 2 years, the interpretation is that it can be extended. However, it should not exceed 5 years in all. And upon such other matters and terms of conditions as the appointing authority shall determine in this matter.
The last two.
You know, this is not the first time a communique like this or this conversation is coming up. Let me take you as far back as 2001 in July. The Public Services Commission, they proscribed post-retirement contracts. So again, it is not the first time a conversation like this has come up for discussion and people are weighing in from all walks of life. In July 2001, this is the Public Services Commission proscribing post-retirement contract. They said that above practice has been identified as one of the greatest impediments to effective succession planning within the public service. At the same time, it is seen as constituting a serious blockade to smooth career progression for younger blood within the service. What we're terming as let the retirees go and let the young grow, thereby creating a disincentive to committed performance. It continues to say that government has accordingly decided to prescribe the practice. This is as far back as 2001. What has become of it? We'll get into the details coming up shortly. But there's more to this historical episode. Exceptions are, however, to be allowed in 2 specific areas, namely contract appointments of medical and paramedical personnel, as well as university lecturers. Even so, these permissible contract appointments must not only be justified beyond all reasonable doubt, but should also be effected in accordance with laid down procedure. So this is the exception that the Public Services Commission prescribed for post-retirement contracts. Let's look at the fourth one. To establish the justification mentioned in paragraph 3, what we just spoke about, it must be proving that there is no suitable serving officer immediately available to be promoted or seconded or transferred or posted or appointed in an acting capacity to undertake the task involved.
The last
There is an active succession planning initiative in place that can be relied upon to produce a suitable serving officer to take over from the officer performing the contract capacity upon the expiry of the contract. Now it continues to say that the appointment shall not last beyond 5 years. The officer earmarked for the contract appointment has been certified by a government medical officer to be physically and mentally fit, and there is budgetary cover for the appointment. So these are the exceptions made available in situations like this. This is the historical episode that the Public Services Commission prescribed on post-retirement contracts. Again, this is not the first time that something like this is happening. Let's have a conversation on the back of this and speak with labor consultant Austin Gamma. He has seen this over and again. He has heard the arguments made by people who are supporting an initiative like this or a directive like this, and there's also heard from organized labor on the concerns they have, talking about institutional memory, talking about experience and all of that. But let's speak to Mr. Game. Mr. Game, thank you so much for making time for us this morning. The country has been talking since this directive was made public yesterday. From where you sit, what has been your reaction so far?
Well, I have no reaction. What I have is my views. And a view that I do not want to say that is final, but we have a law. And the law is very clear as to how we should manage ourselves in respect of retirement and post-retirement. In our law, we have part-time work, we have temporary work, we have contract work, we have work for life. Work for life means working till retirement. Now, if someone is working, the person is not supposed to be stationary. They're supposed to be progressive. Therefore, in the law, we have training, retraining, development of skill, we have mentoring, and we have coaching. And all these are supposed to be undertaken during the lifetime of people who are supposed to be part and parcel of the organization's organizational structure. So are we doing all these things? If we are doing it, what it means is that people take over as people age. They gain experience as they grow in the business. But we are now making it to look as if experience is a commodity to be bought from Makola or somewhere. It's not true. Experience is gained alongside as you work. I've started working and I've been a laborer before and grew up in it. Today I consult for some of the most prestigious organizations in this country and outside this country. What does it mean by experience? So please, I think that the way people are engaged in the thing emotionally and having personal interest in the matter is not fair. I'll be 76 this year, and I am not going to work as a managing director or HR director, depriving young people from getting the chance. I can serve as a commission person. I can serve on a board, but I'm not going to be employed in such kind of thing. So please, we really have to be very sensitive to the population of the nation and help the people to grow and be developed. And the president has done the right thing.
In the view of that, looking at the announcement from the president, Mr. Game, should it not have been on a case-by-case basis? For instance, you target a particular sector because the demands or the requirements or the workforce of every sector may be different from the other.
That's how it has been all this while. If you need somebody, you make a case for it. But we have abused it and overly abused it. It cannot be a law. The Constitution and the law already is in place. And it says that when you are 60, retire. I form part of the commission that wrote the pension scheme. We considered all this before arriving and confirming what is already in the Constitution. It's a constitutional imperative. It's not being said by the personality called President John Mahama. And then they want to discuss it. Everybody from the lenses of politics and from the lenses of personal feelings. No, we don't treat and handle a country like that. We have a population and people to manage. And we must ensure that we give everybody opportunity. What about if the people die? Do we replace them? Please, for heaven's sake.
I see. Mr. Game, let's look at some of the exceptions provided in the, the 2001 prescribing by the Public Services Commission when we're talking about issues of experience and all of that. Now, there are sectors that, unfortunately, the number of experts may be as few as you can count. Maybe an agency, maybe a particular field has just about a few experts. Unfortunately, they have not been able to train or develop or coach others to take after them. What effect will such a directive have on areas like that?
Well, you should be troubled from leaving the question you have asked. You should be bitterly worried this morning that people have not been able to train people.
Certainly.
What does it mean by that? It means that that group shouldn't even exist. They are very disruptive. Why shouldn't you train? We must train everybody. And I'm doing mine now. What is that about experience? It's gained through a period of time if the person is given the opportunity to go through mentoring and coaching and skills development. These are the three patterns. And therefore, if it's not being done, then that group of people who are not doing that are selfish, they are unhelpful, and they are disruptive in the nation. We should not encourage it.
For sectors or areas like academia, for areas like medical areas, paramedical personnel, amongst others, is there a valid concern of the potential for this directive to be counterproductive?
Look, there is nothing called counterproductive in this matter. Let me give you an example. In Kolebu, didn't a person like Professor Frimpong Boateng left the place? Is the cardio center not working?
It is working.
So what is the matter about? The great people like Dr. Ismon, Professor who became Professor Ismon, they are dead. Is Ghana not going on? Is Kwame Nkrumah not dead? Are we not going on? What is this business about experience? Are we not tired? Please, I think that we are beating a drum at the side. Let's go to the face. Train people, develop their skill, mentor them, coach them, and get the teams ready. We have done it like that, and now you see, even your football nation, we are no longer training people because some people want to hold onto selling the little ones we have, send them out, and then go and bring them back and train them and send them back. So our coach development is dead. I live at Adabraka, and we have the great Mao, the Erics, and all those teams. They are dead because we are no longer training people. If we are doing that, we used to beat Nigeria 7-0, 4-0. Where is the training? Where are the coach team? That's the problem. Let's train people. Let's develop them. Let's mentor them. They will gain the needed experience. I 100% agree with the president, and forever and ever is sealed. When we are dead and gone, you people can come and start a new thing.
Mr. Game, so you've spoken extensively about the need for training, development, and coaching or mentorship in this regard. Now, how do we make it a target for agencies or for individuals so that we don't, in the coming years, make this excuse for ourselves again that there's the need for institutional memory, the new ones may not have the needed experience and all of that? How do we ensure that the agencies...
I'm even surprised that the trade unions are also singing the same song other people who shouldn't sing are singing. It's in the law. Section 9 of the Labor Act enjoins employers to train. Not only train, retrain. And if you go to Section 10, it is the right of workers to be trained and skills developed. And as part of the HR policy, we are expected and enjoined to mentor and to coach. Are we doing that? So that's what the trade union should sing, and not calling for people to be giving contracts. Nobody should be giving no contract. I can be appointed as a board member. I can be appointed as chairman of a board or of a commission, but not as a CEO of an atomic agency. No, there are people who can take over those jobs. So experience, yes, can become available at board meetings where you talk about the development of objectives and strategies for annual implementation, to be brought down to the people, to be guided, to enable them discharge their duties. But because we don't ask HR managers, HR directors, we don't ask those people to be able to go and write objectives and strategies for. We don't. They are not the people who do that. I'm a teacher of it. I know what I'm talking about.
Right. If we're letting the retirees grow and we're letting the youth grow, or the young ones grow into these positions, how should we, the young ones, also position ourselves to take advantage of an opportunity like this in a way that we are capable when we get to those areas and the agencies do not lack?
I agree with this valuable question. That is why I'm not talking about Gen Z's type of AI. I'm talking about sensible AI, an appreciative inquiry leadership approach where we have to add value to things. Therefore, the young ones, and I will advocate even this business of training people is not only about starting from waiting to start when people complete university. That's why we must send people who have tremendous experience to go share at the various universities these experiences that they have, so that the people will move from the academia, four square building into straight away into the world of work with some level of appreciation of what is expected of them when they get to the work. I was invited on 2 occasions to one of the beautiful universities in the U.S. to share my experience with the faculty members of the university. Not once, twice. You are sitting here and people outside are making use of the talents that you have. And now you are crying and asking for contracts. Let's stop this kind of things.
Mr. Keme, thank you. Thank you so much for speaking with us. We appreciate your conversation. Austin Gameh is a labor consultant speaking to us there on the latest directive from the presidency on letting the retirees grow and, by inference, allowing the young to grow.
The last 2.
Well, Helen Apiampofo is still here with me. Helen, you've listened to Austin Gameh. We are young people. Labour is concerned about this directive. They're asking for more consultations so that the implementation is smooth and the agencies, institutions does not lack what they are calling experience, what they are calling institutional memory, organization memory, and all of that. How do we blend the two, the need for experience and the need for the young to grow and reach the experience there as well?
I think unless you allow the young to grow, how else do they also gain that experience?
But Austin Gameh said experience is not a commodity that is bought.
That's right.
So the old people got the experience because they started the process and they grew into it. So you don't expect the young to go and buy the experience if you're not giving the them the opportunity to also, grow into the positions.
And I mean, what is the only way to actually get the experience is to do the job and get the experience of doing that job. I don't know if it's because I'm a young person, so of course my advocacy will always be for the young to also have an opportunity to be engaged and not leave it just for our older folk, because sometimes actually you need that dynamism of youth.
Right.
It definitely brings a different perspective to proceedings. And in a continent and in a country where the population is more youthful, I don't think we are adequately represented across the board. This conversation actually reminds me of some of the conversations that were swirling with the inception of the 9th Parliament, and a lot of people were bemoaning the high attrition in Parliament, asking that older parliamentarians stay on because of this same issue of experience. But at the time, I was of the view that, yes, I mean, two things can be true at the same time, that experience is invaluable, but also younger Ghanaians need to be given a chance to add to the conversation, to also bring whatever unique perspective and energy to these various roles. But this is not the first time that we're seeing a directive targeted at allowing the young to grow. But what is the situation on the ground? We live to see.
Let's speak to Professor Agyeman-Duah. He is a governance expert, and he also has extensive knowledge on issues like this. Prof, thank you so much for making time for us this morning. This is a directive from the presidency that is, eliciting a lot of reactions from various quarters. What do you think?
About the ban on extending contracts.
Exactly, Prof.
Okay. I wasn't following you. That's why I'm asking. Yes. Certainly, the Constitution places a limit on how far you can hold that position in terms of age. It is 60 years. So, constitutionally, once you hit 60 years, you must retire. But the practice has been, over the decades, that governments normally will give extra years for some of these retiring public servants. Of course, when it's overdone, as seems to be the case in the past years, it raises concerns, because then that blocks leadership opportunities for younger people who've been working for years in the public sector, who certainly deserve to also assume leadership roles. So there has been a concern about that. So in that respect, I think the president has made the right decision in banning extension of contracts for retirees. But having said that, it's also important to note that it is possible that in some cases, the expertise and experience and performance of certain individuals after 60 years would deserve some kind of consideration, especially if the government is not identifying capable young people who can take the position. But I think that can be done in such a way that it does not unduly penalize those who have come to also assume the position.
But Prof, if the government is not identifying people who are able and capable to take up the position, what may be the reason? Is it the unavailability of the young people, if you like, or because they don't have the experience? And that experience, like Mr. Game said, cannot be bought. You get it while you work at it.
I think the problem has been that the service is not structured in a way to prepare certain individuals in the line of leadership to really get prepared for that day. That is the day that you are called to lead the particular agency or department. I think once somebody is 50 in the service, there must be a deliberate training periodically for those above 50 to be prepared for leadership. But we don't do that. Nonetheless, I think there are some people who may have worked elsewhere, even within the service, that can be identified to play the role. So it's a matter of how we engineer the transition of aging civil servants, and also engineering the preparation of those who should be taken over in 5 years or so time. so that there will be a smooth continuity as people age and fall off at age 60. Those below 50, 55, and so on will have been prepared for that position. That's one thing. But having said that, I think it's also important to stress that in certain rare situations, somebody's expertise and experience will still be needed. And I can tell you, at age 60, you are not wasted. You're still energetic, unless, of course, you are sick for some reason. You're still alert. You can still perform the job. So, in fact, there are people who are raising concerns about that. And I can tell you that, for instance, in the United States, United Nations, retirement age has been pushed to 64 as I speak to you. In the advanced so-called societies in Europe and elsewhere, for them, because of perhaps fertility issues and population problems, they are even thinking of raising it to 70. So situations in certain countries can determine. But in a country like Ghana, Africa generally, where we have an overwhelming youth population, I think that logic may not work for us. So I think what is important is we find a deliberate way of preparing those in the service once they hit 50 to be given special preparations, training, wherever, to make sure that when the time comes, they are ready to take the mantle of leadership.
Prof, you're talking about the preparation for issues like this and the transition period. You've also mentioned that the services may not be structured properly to ensure the transition is smooth. So how does the service or agencies, how do they identify, if you like, potentials to take over from the growing population in the various departments so that the transfer is smooth and there's not a dip in experience, a dip in knowledge, a dip in capacity to handle certain particular engagements?
You know, if you look at the corporate world, the company may see some young people with talent and they consciously identify them and give them specialized training towards that kind of leadership role. Of course, corporate world is not public service, so I can understand that. But if we take politics out of this process and really have a system of identifying potential, you see, it's not everybody. Let me be clear on this one matter. Whilst I do support the age limitation for the sake of allowing young people to come into leadership, let's also recognize that you are not necessarily capable of leading because you are 50 or 59 or 58. Age does not necessarily bestow good performance or knowledge or intelligence or anything of the sort. You see, but I know that in the public service, as we have in the police and perhaps in the other security agencies, in Ghana, it's like it's my turn because I'm 50 or I'm 60 or something like that. That really defeats meritocracy. In Ghana, I don't think we respect meritocracy. A lot of people make claims based on age. But the fact is that age does not necessarily bestow wisdom and experience and the knowledge and that kind of stuff. Now, this is where the challenge is then. How do we ensure that, whilst in fact we are expecting the age limitation, we should also we should take cognizance of the fact of merit. You see, some people use age and take positions and they mess up things because they are not capable. So I think the public service will find a mechanism to begin to train people maybe earlier on in their professions towards those kind of leadership. So I'm not really strictly saying because you are 60 you should go away, or because you are 50 or 58 it's my time to be leader. Not everybody is born a leader. We know that. That could be part of the problem we're having in the country. People claim it's their turn because they are this much or have been in longer than you. I came before you. You are now the IGP or you are something, and I was here before you came. That is not the right thing to build a society. You see, we have to look at merit. So how we bring merit into this process is what the Civil Service Commission, Public Service Commission should be sitting and researching and finding an answer to these kinds of questions.
Prof, will it be fair to extend, this directive and what it means to other areas of the country, for instance, the executive?
You see, see, when you move into that arena, you are moving into a political ring. Okay.
But Prof, hold on for me. So if we're moving into that arena, and if we're bearing in mind the reason or the thinking for a directive like this for the services, does that reason or that thinking, does it not apply to the executive, and does it not apply politically?
Yes, I agree. Your question is a good one. And in fact, that's exactly what I was going to address, which is that even in the political sector, we should be looking at merit and performance. As you know, some of the serious problem we have mitigating our development is placing around pegs in square holes. Okay? When you appoint somebody to head an agency, and this is an example, we have a lot of state agencies, Cocoa Board or whatever board, and SIC, all these state agencies. If you allow political motivation to direct your appointment, and you appoint someone with no background, no competence, no demonstrable capacity to run an organization because he's loyal to me, because he supported my campaign, or because then what we are having is the rottenness we have in our system. People take charge of these institutions, and in the end, they run the whole country into serious debt. No performance, no productivity.
Yeah, but Prof.
Performance. So what I'm saying is that, sure, we can also bring this into the political arena, but because it's not that simple, I think leaders have an obligation to make sure those appointed because of their loyalty also have the capacity to perform.
Prof, I'm not too sure the directive was the reason for this directive was because the thinking is these older people, or these people 60 years and above, may not have the capacity to do that. The thinking most likely is to let them go because there are young people who are willing and able to take after them. Now, if you're looking at the list of ministers we have, for instance, there's an average age that is close to 50. There are those who are 59 years old, those who are over 60 years old, and all of that. The question is not about their capacity to function effectively, but based on the thinking behind the directive, what should we say to they too? And even the president is how old? 61 years old.
Yes. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's about 60. Well, it's a very interesting issue. We know that in countries around us, presidents could be 80, as we saw in Joe Biden in the United States. Trump is going to be 70.
You have just 1 minute remaining. You can dial star.
Unfortunately, we'll have to call Professor Agyeman-Duah back. Prof, we'll get back to you right away. But let's speak with Musa Tanko. He is with Organized Labor. He has also, they are concerned about, this directive. They're calling for broader consultations. Let's find out exactly what they mean and what concerns they have about, this directive. Mr. Tanko, thank you for making time for us this morning. You're calling for wider discussions, broader consultations. What exactly does that mean?
Okay, so thank you very much. First issue, good morning to yourself and to all your listeners. The first thing is this: it is in the national interest. Nobody is against what His Excellency or the letter that has come out. In fact, when you work up to 16 years as a public servant, you are supposed to go on retirement, unless maybe as provided for in the constitutions. There are other servants, public servants, that the constitution requires them to, go beyond 60 years, like those are the superior court judges and other related ones. But if you look at the tone of the letter, it seems to suggest that when you get to at age 60, you have to go. That is not to say that it affects the judges and all that. No, because that of the judges is actually enshrined in the 1992 Constitution. Here we are talking about the general issues at stake. The first issue is this. The state, both the public and the civil services are not all that strong. They are weak. And we were in this country when the former president of US came to tell us that we need strong institutions. Strong institutions are not built over a day. It takes years, decades to build those strong institutions. And so, like I answered, the first one is that the both the public and the civil services we have in Ghana, they are weak. They are weak because we have politicized both the public and the civil service. And to the extent that every 4 years or every 8 years, almost all those who are working there, they will have to go for a new one to come. And that has been the system. That has been the system. The second thing that we need to look at in the, as we thinking about or reflecting on this policy is that every organization, you need what we call organizational memory. You need organizational memory. Look, how will the minister feel like that you go into an office that you don't know what really happened in the past? You will certainly be in that business. Because even if you look at the directive principles of state policy of our constitution, it provides that current government must continue on the work that their past or their predecessors have done. You can only continue when you have adequate information and data in place when you are taking over. When that happens, continuation becomes easy and seamless for you. But to the extent that we don't have enough information and all that, they certainly will be in for trouble, and name calling and all those things will come up. So this most of the organizations, if you go there now, you will see that a significant number of them are new people altogether. And the third reason why we are saying that we need to tread cautiously on this particular thing is that if we go on that particular tangent, getting a very strong civil and public institutions will be quite a difficult one. And if I may add the fourth one, what we have what we call the strategic plan. And in that strategic plan, we normally need to have what we call the succession plan. If you look at the Public Services Commission document, their policy document, in all the public services, we are supposed to have what we call the succession planning or the succession plan in place so that we know that if this person is not there, this person will take over. If this person is not there, this person will take over. Once we have that strong succession plan there, in our strategic plan, which is normally done by the Public Services Commission, we don't have a problem. We are good to go. But these, how do you call it, all these instruments that must be put in place to ensure that we have seamless succession planning and how to actually train people to take up a higher responsibility. We don't have those things there. I tell you, we have serious problems there. And finally, if I may add, these days, to get any appointment now, people want to know your political leanings. And that is the difficulty that is confronting us. If we put competence aside, and the thing is that first and foremost, let us look at somebody who can be loyal to the party. Our loyalty must be to the country. In as much as I agree that both the public and the civil services, we must be loyal, we must be anonymous, we must be neutral, we must be impartial. I also believe that there must be a way out where we can all work together to put that succession planning in place to keep the mother Ghana going by building strong institutions.
So, Mr. Tanko, if we're building this succession plan you're talking about, and based on the fact that the institutions may be weak and there's a need for enough information without which it would be difficult for the institutions to work properly, how should the services be structured properly so that they could easily, and I mean the personnel within the services who are approaching such ages, could easily retrain, could easily develop, coach or mentor the young ones coming? Because the thinking is that a lot of and I'm using older folks here, do not concern themselves. They are not concerned at all about retraining the younger ones because they want to stay there till they are physically unable to come to work.
You see, this mandate has been given to the Public Services Commission. They are to develop this succession planning, the strategic plan, and all those things. The Constitution has mandated the Public Services Commission to do that for us. And so if you want to get people promoted, to get people placed in strategic positions, to deliver on their mandate, the issues of productivity, to get the work doing, this mandate is in the hands of the Public Services Commission. But like I have said, it has to do the political, elite also, they are always looking at their interest. And so you can see the Public Services document on one side, but what is actually also happening on the ground is parallel to what the Public Services Commission is doing. And the Public Services Commission, you don't have the ultimate power, because at the end of the day, the political system will tell you that this is what we have been, we went to the people to negotiate and all those things. I am happy the way we have started. Now we are engaged in national discourse regarding our corporate governance. So as part of my recommendation to His Excellency the President of the Republic of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama, that as part of the reset agenda of the corporate governance, this issue should be part of it, because this is an issue of corporate governance. How do we want our country to go? How do we build strong institutions for a better corporate governance for Ghana? How do we get the institutions running and all that, such that even so, if somebody should retire, somebody should decide that I will no longer work at age 55, Ghana will not suffer for it. It is for all of us to get it done. It is not for A or for B. It is an issue of corporate governance to actually make Ghana a better place for all of us. So this is an issue we need to all discuss around the table. And now, like I've said, I will recommend to His Excellency that once we have started with the reset agenda, how can we all together come around and we're taking into consideration that we have a high employment, about 14% thereabout. We can also not keep the old people there.
Exactly.
And then we see the young ones not be working. Otherwise, we'll be endangering our lives, because the young ones will not be happy. And we could face the consequences of it. So this is a corporate governance thing. Let us all come around the table and let us get it done, and everybody will be fine.
Mr. Tanko, you spoke about the duty of the Public Services Commission, but for the public services themselves, the agencies there, what role can they play individually to ensure that there is smooth transition? And if a directive like this comes from a future president or this president, and new people are going to various positions, there's not a dip in the quality of service, but rather an improvement in knowledge acquired, in experience, in every other thing good?
My brother, their job is cut out for them in the Constitution. And if you look at the Article 190 workers, all the public services listed under Article 190, all these institutions come under the Public Services Commission. They all come under the Public Services Commission. And if we want to see an effective functioning of a very determined and robust, strong public institution and Public Services Commission, we need to give them the free hand to work. If we don't do so, and we see the interference, and particularly those are the helm of affairs, and if they feel that, look, if I do this thing, I'll be fired and all that, certainly we'll always be reinventing the wheel and all that. So, my brother, it is not as easy as we see it. The system, as you see it, the people at the helm of affairs, they always have a concern that when you do this one, you'll be fired. If you do this one, will be fired. And that is why we move one step forward, we move two steps backwards. It's not helping anybody. There are people who are well-intended, have ideas to help. But if the things you want to do, you don't get the support of the powers that be, hey, my brother, you won't go far, you'll be sad. And that is the challenge we all need to confront. And that is why I say I recommend to His Excellency the President that this particular issue should be part of the reset agenda. I remember quite clearly that once upon a time the Senate was even recommending that if the retirement age could be increased to the age 65. Why? Because that the Senate, as we see, is not sustainable. So there was an argument that can we increase the retirement age to 65? But that argument didn't last, and it ended there. And so it looks like this kind of argument will come and go now is 60 years. And so we can make it part of our corporate governance system. We all discuss it. And at the end of the day, let Ghana's interest prevail.
Mr. Tanko, thank you so much for speaking with us on the program.
Thank you very much.
That's the voice of Musa Tanko engaging with us. We still have on the phone lines Professor Bafo Agyeman-Duah. He is a governance expert. Prof, we lost you at a point, but we were linking the entire conversation to what should happen in the executive, bearing in mind the thinking behind this directive.
Well, I think it's going to be difficult to link this to the executive, which is basically the political arm of governance. But I think what should happen is that there should be a clear line between the public service and the executive, which is the political arm. I know one country where they have successfully divorced the public service from political control, and that makes it possible for them to groom leaders and go through the ladder, climb the ladder rather, to the highest possible position in their public service. So that if you become a chief director, you have gone through the process successfully, and there are monitoring and evaluation at every step. So it's not everybody who can emerge into very important strategic positions in the public service. So if we can do that, and I heard the last speaker, my colleague, talking about structuring the public service in such a way that they can have they can make decisions for strategic placement of individuals and all that. And I think that's important because in the end, you want to make sure that those who emerge into leadership have what it takes to play that role. Now, if you think the same limitation or age limitation should be brought to the executive side, which is the political side, that's a different thing because, again, if we want that to be in the constitution, like if you are 60 as president, you cannot be president and all, that would be a long story. I think there's a reason why in the constitution, for instance, there's no age limitation. And most other constitutions in the world will find that there's no age limitation for president and such positions. So the rationale may be simple, that leadership at that level should be open to all people who are mature. And unless you are a sick person, by you're mentally not capable or physically not capable, I think you should have that. But of course, common sense will also tell you that doesn't mean if you are 90 years like President Biya in Cameroon or Mugabe when he was in the 80s and 90s, you can function, you still president. So I think that's why we have to play carefully because of the implications of placing such a ban on the political side.
I see. Prof, we'll leave it here. We'll get back to you for some more conversations. Professor Bafo Agyeman-Duah is a former senior UN governance advisor speaking to us there. And Helen Appiah-Ampofo, you've heard the arguments that these gentlemen have made. Where do we go from here?
A lot of valid points. Many valid points have been made this morning or raised this morning, and it's a conversation that we look at from many different lenses. I can't remember who exactly made that comment about meritocracy in Ghana. We have to expand the conversation or the tentacles of this conversation just beyond even age. Beyond even age. Who exactly are we appointing into these key and strategic positions? But it's not a conversation that will end anytime soon. And of course, as the months and years unfold, we'll see how true to this directive that government will stick.
If you're going through the comments, there are those who are, a lot of people are of the opinion that these, and I'm using older folks advisedly, they just want to be there till they cannot be there again. They are not concerned about training, about mentorship, about bringing other people on board. They just want to be there. This is a comment from Brima. He says, they stay there for too long and they become corrupt, arrogant, non-performing about new things. There's also let the retirees go and let the youth coming. I love this program. The retirees in Kama Douglas, he says that they are very greedy. He says if they meant good for the country, they would have trained someone to replace them in even and to replace them and even in time of contingencies such as these ones.
The last two.
Reach us on our social media platforms at 3FM 927. It's all about the new directive from the presidency and the reactions that it is sparking. Should tread cautiously, as this directive like this could be counterproductive. That is also being a matter of concern. Has been disagreed with by Austin Game, who's also a labor consultant.
Rap for the last two.
But certainly it's a discussion that will not end today. It has opened up a nice box, of competence, of meritocracy, of age and ability, of experience, plenty things.
Rap for the last two.
It's all happening here on 3FM 92.7. But stay with us here, don't go anywhere. We still have a lot coming in for you. Just to remind you that today is the day we expect the Supreme Court to rule on the two suits filed against the removal of the Chief Justice. So we expect to hear from the Supreme Court today. The CJ removal petition. The Supreme Court is hearing the injunction application. We'll cross over to the court for some live updates. Sixers Noolo will be there. Lord Edwasari will be there. We'll also be speaking with some experts also on the back of this. So you certainly don't want to go away. Stay with us here on 3FM 92.7. We have more for you right after this.
The best in the morning is on 92.7. Sunrise on